What's really going to bake your noodle later on is, would you still have broken it if I hadn't said anything?
Accurate. Noodle baked.
I can see why she likes you.
Who?
Not too bright, though.
Oracle burn.
I'm not the one.
You got the gift.
Notice that the Oracle never actually says it. In fact, if you're paying attention, she essentially says you are the one, you just don't believe it. Love the way this movie toys with perceptions, especially given that she's actually a program.
One of you is going to die.
Ha! She ain't even lying. These people can't even exit cars without being all sexy. Demon eyes, run!
Oh, deja vu. What is it?
A deja vu is usually a glitch in the Matrix. It happens when they change something.
This concept has stuck with me. Still convinced we're in the Matrix every time I have deja vu. Also, every time I watch Deja Vu starring Denzel Washington. Brutal death. Years later, and I still wish they hadn't done Mouse dirty like this. It was the chicken thing. Yeah, he's a traitor. Badass good peeps. What the? How does he get up like that? It's pure nightmare material.
The great Morpheus.
More like Fight-Pheus, am I right?
You're a beautiful woman, Trinity.
Too bad things have to turn out this way.
Tired of fighting, I'm tired of this ship.
Well, technically you'll get yours, Teddy, and Natalie will be responsible and get off scot-free.
I choose the Matrix.
The Matrix isn't real.
I disagree, Trinity.
And to be fair to Cypher, lots of people would, including Leonard. After all, whether it's filet mignon or faux vengeance.
Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, that's right, the filet mignon pronunciation was bait. Did you take it? It's like she was switched off. I will not show myself out.
I mean, how can he be the one if he's dead?
About that.
You piece of shit, you're still gonna burn.
Nice.
You know that the first Matrix was designed to be a perfect human world. And it was a disaster.
Okay, well, that's just a fun way of working their own mythology into the creationism story. What is that, mercury? You injected it with mercury?
Unless they're dead. In either case.
We have no choice but to continue as planned.
Always love the way they seem to be a bit of a hive mind, finishing each other's sandwiches.
Morpheus did what he did because he believed that I'm something I'm not.
What?
Her astounded reaction. It doesn't make sense to her because of what the Oracle told her. And I mean, again, look at this boy.
I know that's what it looks like, but it's not. I can't.
The perfect facial reaction to, source, trust me, bro.
I believe I can bring him back.
My goodness, this entire scene is so perfectly crafted. Right, it's just a bunch of exposition and people standing around talking, but the score hits each moment perfectly. The tension building as Tank is about to pull the plug. The Terminator metal clangs ramping up as Neo talks about going in to save Morpheus. And then this bell toll when he reveals, I mean, nothing that unique, but the sound design and score make it hit.
What?
I believe I can bring him back.
And since I am the ranking officer on this ship, if you don't like it, I believe you can go to hell, because you aren't going anywhere else.
Got him. Lover burn.
There is another organism on this planet that follows the same pattern. A virus.
Every line this man delivers, Hugo Weaving is always a win. Also, who knew you'd become the biggest virus of them all? More like a runaway process, but you get the point.
No one has ever done anything like this.
That's why it's going to work.
Me, handsome guy, not smart guy. So that logic feels off. But then again, there's a Matrix commentary track with Cornel West, not to mention about 5,000 books on philosophy about this film. So at this point, anything that feels illogical or above my head can probably be chalked up to me, handsome. Also, look at all them guns.
I must get out of here. I must get free.
While we're talking about setting up the sequels, nothing Smith does later is a departure from this movie. And you could say he is set free by the end of this movie. Okay, so here we go with a bunch of innocents getting slaughtered, but did you see how fast he drew his guns before the guy whose heart he stopped even hit the ground? Like, I get that the point is that they're so fast and proficient because they know it's not really real, but it creates a situation where it's like they're murdering malnourished children. They barely get a shot off, just terrorists? Propeller head spy break nails this set piece to the wall. I mean, Decks and Drums and Rock and Roll is an utterly flawless window into electronic music of the late 90s if you're interested. Maybe the album's already had a revival, who knows, because dad life. If not, it certainly will sometime soon. Trinity's run up the wall is gorgeous. Her landing and Neo's weird lateral movement flip are both moments that, well, they unsuspend disbelief. However, if you've ever used a cheat code in a game, you know that sometimes it looks effortless and very obvious that the rules no longer apply to you. And other times you look off balance and glitchy, and they're essentially using cheat codes for life. So while both of the moments may actually just be kind of wonky shots, for me, it's always worked in the context of the film. Fun way of showing Neo's reality versus the SWAT guys. The shots are in slow-mo, but the impacts are at normal speed. Brutal. the destructive glory. One-handed multi-kill. Best jump kick ever. Even the way he sticks the landing. Badass bet, I mean good guy.
There is no spoon.
The Silencio Bruno of my generation. Not the last time they'll go flying together. Again, we didn't need this. What even is this? A normal explosion would have been fine, but instead they slowed it down and made the fireball look like lava flowing through the lobby. I don't remember Neo going through the hunted training upload. I know, Morpheus said it, but I didn't know we'd get to see it. I mean, unless you tell the trailer, I guess. Bullet time. Often imitated, never duplicated. Did I say yup? Yup.
Dodge this.
Best line ever. Let's just reiterate that Trinity is a badass good girl.
No.
Gotta give Smith props for hitting his target through the wall and in slow motion. Another moment where I just want to say, what a moment. This split-second decision to commit to saving Trinity. So hot.
Do you believe it now, Trinity?
So like, what did he do that was so special? Why does any of this mean he's the one? Well, I'm glad you asked. It's a lot of things. For starters, he went up against 3 agents, something no one had even tried before, and won, saving Morpheus. He also stopped all casualties of his crew. But I think the biggest thing is this right here. Neo knew, and even after, in his mind, knows that he's not the one. And yet he was ready to stop a helicopter from crashing so he could save Trinity or die trying. He did it without hesitating. Sort of reminds me of when Marcus Aurelius said Maximus must be emperor because he doesn't want to be. The one in this story is a stand-in for the biblical Jesus, so the idea that Neo would die without hesitation, sacrificing himself, confirmed it for Morpheus. With only 23 minutes left, that's the first time we've seen how they actually transport through the phone line. Just this all happening through landlines is so 90s I can't stand it.
Everything the Oracle told me has come true. Everything but this.
Just kiss him then, that'll do the trick. Hot dang, the visual storytelling behind this quick moment where his decision is made. Newspapers instead of tumbleweeds, subtle Wachowskis. You've probably heard it a million times by now, but bullet time is still a technical marvel when you consider the 120 cameras set up in a spiral to make these shots happen. Also, it's wicked cool. The mere idea that these two are both so fast that they're pulling each other's shots away and it has to be slowed down for our eyes to even see their movements. There is something about how skinny Keanu is compared to the 80s and 90s movie action heroes, at least in the US, that came before. Muscles don't matter in the Matrix, so he didn't need to look like the Terminator. Everything Morpheus said has come true, dodging bullets and punching through walls.
I've seen an agent punch through a concrete wall.
Can we just take a moment to admire freaking Hugo Weaving at 39 just tearing these martial arts up? And fun fact, Hugo had like something wrong with his hip, bone marrow edema, and had to have surgery while training for this movie. He and Keanu both. Yeah. Love the way the camera sticks with Smith here. Shows us that it genuinely doesn't matter what Neo was doing. Smith is the focus. Hell to the yup. Baddest baddie badass good guy. I love how they play off the throat fingertip choking is just a typical move.
Goodbye, Mr. Anderson. My name is Neo.
Yeah, stop dead naming Agent Glinner. I also really like that even though Neo is becoming Matrix God, he's not quite there yet, shown by him almost not sticking the landing. On our first time seeing this, there's a slight possibility you could think the subway killed Smith, but probably not, and for fun, you can actually hear the sound of him leaving the body. And just in case you weren't 100% sure. This chase is so frenetic, it really puts you in Neo's chaotic headspace.
Go on your left. No, your other left.
Ha! Stage direction and camera position jokes. Robo-fingies that haunt my dreams to this day. It all started in room 303, and it all, well, starts even more in room 303. That's how Smith knew which room Neo had to go to. Also, it began with Trinity, 303. That shot. You heard it. They didn't muffle it enough to not hear it, but you know the feeling. You know the sound of blood pumping in your ears after an intense workout, the adrenaline coursing through your veins so you barely even register the pain of scraping your knuckles, stubbing your toe, even your arm getting cut open. Sometimes you don't even feel the pain until you see the blood. That brief moment where you think, is this what Morpheus meant? That he won't have to dodge bullets because he's invincible? Oh, nope, he did. Chicken. Chicken what?
Chicken tastes like everything.
Goodbye, Mr. Anderson.
Wow, even posthumously you dead name him. But I'd like to point out that this is precisely what the Oracle said he was waiting for.
What?
Your next life, maybe.
The Oracle told me that I would fall in love and that man would be the one. So you see, you can't be dead because I love you.
In high school, I saw this and thought, yes, this is love. Now I'm like, girl, you just met this dude, and yeah, he's a cutie, but pump the brakes. But the reality is love means different things to different people. You can be with someone for 40 years and never really love them, and you can be in love after spending a few hours with them. So you go for it, Trin. Also, for the record, they're both regulation hotties. Yes, all the yups, yeses. There are no words for this moment. Ha! And the police tape is still up from when Trinity murdered all those cops. And what about this piece of music? The choral voices joining in? Could it be any more epic? Has there ever been a better superhero moment? Take a seat, Captain Mjolnir. Ah, that thing we all thought was so cool and such a God mode move ended up being Neo's biggest mistake. But comeuppance? I mean, not really, it was a gift. But there goes Smith's face. And now Matrix reality bends to Neo's will. I like to think Agent Jones decided to give up his thankless life as an agent and becomes a guide on K2 or moves to Wyoming to solve mysteries until the one thing blows over. It's hard to explain to anyone born in this century what that phone hang-up and rage kicking in made us all feel at the time, and it still gives me chills to this day. Wake up! Rage Against the Machine! As if the band was created for the movie. I don't know, maybe you get it. Oh yeah, and he can fly now. OMG, this ending, this freaking movie, the possibilities, if ever there was a perfect movie. If ever. The Matrix, what a movie. The fact that I ever leave this out of my top 10 discussions simply because it's every guy my age's favorite is really stupid. This movie rules. Is it problematic? Yeah, it's from 1999, of course it is. But enough of my feelings. Believe it or not, as long as these videos are, there are still more awesome details I didn't talk about yet. I touched on color a little. You may have noticed the subtitles changing, but everything in the Matrix is green while the real world is mostly blue-hued. Red only comes up a few times, the red pill obviously, a woman in a red coat in every frame of Neo's first capture, and the woman in the red dress. And then we have the yellow-tinted scene inside the sparring program since it's neither the world of the real or the Matrix. Then there's just the stuff you'd probably never notice, but it's in there, like the water streaming down the side of the building from the sprinklers during the minigun scene. Beyond Morpheus' outfit being dopey dope, his tie is green and actually looks a lot like Matrix code. Also, the entire lobby gun battle is a very clear homage to Ghost in the Shell. Another one of my favorites is the constant use of reflections, which can be clearly interpreted as seeing your true self, and often Neo's reflection is distorted since he's still figuring it out. How about how Smith is shooting low through the wall because he still doesn't want to kill Morpheus since they need those Zion mainframe codes? Lots of thought and care was put into this film and its details. And then there's the stuff under the surface. The Matrix tapped into the general ennui of the late 90s. It was a response to the excess of the 80s. The 90s were about realizing excess gets boring, and not everybody gets to live their dream. But 1999 and The Matrix specifically changed movies. You can almost look at movies as pre or post Matrix. Out with the macho beefcakes carrying trees on their shoulders, in with the svelte kung fu masters. Well, he does just about stop the weight of a falling helicopter, but you get what I mean. The Matrix's cultural impact can't be overstated. This was pre-Y2K, pre-9/11, the economy was mostly fine. Many people could buy a house on an average salary, so society had to come up with things to be upset about. That's a severe oversimplification, and it ignores the millions in poverty and marginalized groups that had actual problems, but that's sort of the point. There were a number of movies during this time that tapped into this similar, woe is me, the worker drone white dude, life is so boring and hard, I'm probably meant for something more? Fight Club, Office Space. I mean, I already mocked Reality Bites in my Black Widow video, apparently way too subtly, for the same reasons. The system, man, it wants to keep you down. You should smoke cigarettes, draw stuff, and stare off into space instead. But The Matrix took it to a whole new level. Well, it's not your fault, see? You're actually right. Things should be different, but it's the machines, see? They control you. And I'm not here to tell you that there was anything disingenuous about it. Your perception is your reality, so being told that we were actually special little boys and maybe we were the saviors of humanity against the tyrannical rulers with their boots on our cubicles, demanding TPS reports so that we don't promote our punchy groups using the office copier and that we just show up to work on time? Oh, that was the final straw. Look, I'll come in and sit at a desk, but I'm doing it on my own schedule. And like I touched on briefly, for a 90s film, it surprisingly predicted some aspects of social media way before they became a thing. When these characters are plugging into the Matrix, they are not just digital projections of their actual selves, they are the version of themselves they wish the world to see them as. This is an obvious concept now, but back then it was brand new. You can curate all the pictures or videos you post of yourself on TikTok or Instagram, but it's still a projection and one that is more intimate than many of us realize.
You all look the same to me.
because it's not a projection of who we are, it's a projection of how we want to be seen. All these characters look cool or goofy depending on your own particular personal aesthetic. We talked about how true believer Morpheus, the spiritual one, still wants to look dope in the Matrix. But even Neo, who is new to this world, doesn't project his real world short hair, he's the way he wants to be known. And that even escalates in Reloaded. The philosophical and religious connections in the Matrix have been talked about to death, so I'm not going to rehash all of them. You can see a lot of inspiration from Joseph Campbell right down to the main push of the movie, how heroes can't submit to the system, they need to listen to that voice inside their head to find their true selves. Keanu Reeves was the perfect blank slate hero. He made for a classic myth structure where you could project just about anything or anyone onto him. Many of the hero story beats that Campbell talks about from most of the world's religions are present. For the Matrix, Neo, one in case you missed the anagram, can be Matrix Jesus. Everyone talks about him as the savior throughout, and he even sacrifices himself in the end, only to be resurrected, conquering death, and at least planning to free everyone. There's also plenty of Buddhist imagery, the talk of freeing your mind. The Matrix itself can be seen as samsara, a suffering-laden cycle of life, death, and rebirth without beginning or end. There's also Plato's allegory of the cave, questioning what's real. Are our waking lives just shadows being cast on the cave wall? Is there more? But you've heard all this. The parallels are numerous, and while at times contradictory, generally well executed. I got some of that at 14 in theaters. Okay, I mainly got none of that, and it's part of what makes this movie so dang amazing to me, because it's laden with all these crazy philosophical messages, and yet the general narrative is simple to understand because it's a basic hero's journey where we watch Tommy Nobody become a literal god within the world we currently reside. It's wish fulfillment to the max. He has the actual cheat codes to reality. What could be cooler? Or scarier? Rules don't apply to him, not even gravity, so like I said, it's not without issues. But honestly, if I'd seen on paper that he flies away to close out the movie, I'd probably have said, it goes too far. It's not something that's established, Morpheus doesn't mention it, but hot dang it, is it the ultimate frosting on this delicious cake. So, is the Matrix a transgender narrative? Yes, it opens and ends with the word trans. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. More like it can be. Look, as absolutely frustrating as this is, spending any amount of time talking about this topic will undoubtedly make this video unfriendly to advertisers and could lead to it getting suppressed. And honestly, more importantly to me at this point, will open up some of my fans to a bunch of abuse by others who think they own the interpretations of this movie, and I'd rather just avoid that for them. So even though I don't really have anything groundbreaking to add to this conversation, I still wanted to talk about it because when you watch this movie with that in mind, it all becomes pretty clear, and you start to notice more and more little things. So that's over on Nebula at the timestamp on screen, so you can just jump right to it. Sign up at the link in the description. They're running a special right now for my fans, making an annual subscription less than $1 a month, and you can watch the entire video with nothing cut out except YouTube ads. Well, this bit about cutting out ads, but you get it. I'll say this much. I know that this movie was a trans anthem for many people and helped them immensely, while others think it's a little forced to interpret it that way. To each their own. For me, it's just another fantastic layer to a movie I've loved forever and ever. Can't wait to talk about Reloaded. Get ready!
Can you fly that thing?
Not yet. Let's go.